It has not been perfect, but it saved lives, and we created a situation in which not only Kosovo, but other parts of the former Yugoslavia are at least have the potential to, over time, build democracies and enter into the broader European community. But be very clear, we have recognized the country of Kosovo as an independent sovereign nation, as has Great Britain and many other countries in the region. And I think that that carries with it then certain obligations to ensure that they are not invaded.
Before you go, each of you have talked about your careers in public service. Looking back through them, is there any words or vote that you'd like to take back? Senator Clinton.
Well, obviously, I've said many times that although my vote on the 2002 authorization regarding Iraq was a sincere vote, I would not have voted that way again. I would certainly, as president, never have taken us to war in Iraq, and I regret deeply that President Bush waged a preemptive war, which I warned against and said I disagreed with. But I think that this election has to be about the future. It has to be about what we will do now, how we will deal with what we're going to inherit. You know, we've just been talking about Russia. We could have gone around the world. We could have gone to Latin America and talked about, the retreat from democracy. We could have talked about Africa and the failure to end the genocide in Darfur. We could have gone on to talk about the challenge that China faces and the Middle East, which is deteriorating under the pressures of Hamas, Hezbollah, and the interference that is putting Israel's security at stake. We could have done an entire program, Tim, on what we will inherit from George Bush. And what I believe is that my experience and my unique qualifications on both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue equip me to handle with the problems of today and tomorrow, and to be prepared to make those tough decisions in dealing with Putin and others, because we have so much work to do and we don't have much time to try to make up for our lost ground.
But to be clear, you'd like to have your vote back?
Absolutely. I've said that many times.
Senator Obama, any statements or vote you'd like to take back?
Well, when I first arrived at the Senate, in the Senate that first year, we had a situation surrounding Terry Schiavo. And I remember how we adjourned with a unanimous agreement that eventually allowed Congress to interject itself into that decision-making process of the families. It wasn't something I was comfortable with, but it was not something that I stood on the floor and stopped. And I think that was a mistake, and I think the American people understood that that was a mistake. And as a constitutional law professor, I knew better. And so that's an example, I think, of where inaction...
This is the young woman with the feeding tube, and the family disagreed as to whether it should be removed or not.
And I think that's an example of inaction. And sometimes, that can be as costly as action. But let me say this, since we're wrapping up this debate. We have gone through 20 debates now. There is still a lot of fight going on in this contest, and we've got 4 coming up and maybe more after that. But the one thing I'm absolutely clear about is Senator Clinton has campaigned magnificently. She is an outstanding public servant, and I'm very proud to have been campaigning with her. And part of what I think both of us are interested in, regardless of who wins the nomination, is actually delivering for the American people. There's a vanity aspect and an ambition aspect to politics. But when you spend as much time as Senator Clinton and I have spent around the country, and you hear heartbreaking story after heartbreaking story, and you realize that people's expectations are so modest. They're not looking for government to solve all their problems. They just want a little bit of a hand up to keep them in their homes if they're about to be foreclosed upon, or to make sure their kids can go to college to live out the American dream. It is absolutely critical that we change how business is done in Washington, and we remind ourselves of what government is supposed to be about. And I have a lot of confidence that whoever ends up being the nominee, that the Democratic standard bearer will try to restore that sense of public service to our government. That's why I think we're both running, and I'm very pleased that I've had this opportunity to run with Senator Clinton.
But the voters can only choose one, Brian, and I think you have a question.
Well, we don't have such thing in our format as a closing statement, but I am going to ask a closing and a fundamental question of you both, and I'll ask it of you first, Senator Obama. What is the fundamental question you believe Senator Clinton must answer along the way to the voters here in Ohio and in Texas, and for that matter across the country, in order to prove her worthiness as the nominee? And then we will ask the same question of Senator Clinton.
I have to say, Brian, I think she would be worthy as a nominee. Now, I think I'd be better. Otherwise, I wouldn't be running. But there's no doubt that Senator Clinton is qualified and capable and would be a much better president than John McCain, who I respect and I honor his service to this country, but essentially has tethered himself to the failed policies of George Bush over the last 7 years. On economics, he wants to continue tax cuts to the wealthy that we can't afford. And on foreign policy, he wants to continue a war that not only can we not afford in terms of money, but we can't afford in terms of lives, and it's not making us more safe. We can't afford it in terms of strategy. So, I don't think that Senator Clinton has to answer a question as to whether she's capable of being president or our standard bearer. I will say this, that the reason I think I'm better as the nominee is that I can bring this country together, I think, in a unique way across divisions of race, religion, region, and that is what's going to be required in order for us to actually deliver on the issues that both Senator Clinton care so much and I care so much about. And I also think I have a track record starting from the days I moved to Chicago as a community organizer when I was in my 20s, on through my work in state government, on through my work as a United States Senator. I think I bring a unique bias in favor of opening up government, pushing back special interests, making government more accountable so that the American people can have confidence that their voice is being heard. Those are qualities that I bring to this race, and I hope that the people of Ohio, Texas, Rhode Island, and Vermont decide that those are qualities that they need in the next president of the United States.
Senator Clinton, same question, and that is, again, is there a fundamental question Senator Obama must answer to the voters in this state and others as to his worthiness?
Well, Brian, there isn't any doubt that both of us feel strongly about our country, that we bring enormous energy and commitment to this race, and would bring that to the general election and to the White House. As I said last week, it's been an honor to campaign. I still intend to do everything I can to win, but it has been an honor because it has been a campaign that is history-making. Obviously, I am thrilled to be running to be the first woman president, which I think would be a sea change in our country and around the world, and would give enormous enormous hope and, real challenge to the way things have been done and who gets to do them and what the rules are. So I feel that either one of us will make history. The question that I have been posing is who can actually change the country? And I do believe that my experience over 35 years in the private sector as well as the public and the not-for-profit sector gives me an understanding and an insight into how best to make the changes that we all know we have to see. When I wasn't successful about getting universal health care, I didn't give up. I just got to work and helped to create the Children's Health Insurance Program. And, today in Ohio, 140,000 kids have health insurance. And yet, this morning in Lorraine, a mother said that she spent, with the insurance and everything, over $3 million taking care of her daughter who'd had a serious accident. And she just looked at me, as so many mothers and fathers have over so many years, and said, "Will you help us?" That's what my public life has been about. I want to help the people of this country get the chances they deserve to have. And I will do whatever I can here in Ohio and Texas, Rhode Island, and the states to come